What up? You might hear some ambient noise of my baby and wife playing out there, but let's get on with a week 2 video. So Thursday night football, Chargers Chiefs. Man, it seemed like it was going the way I predicted for the first half, 3/4 of the game or so, and then it just took a hard left turn. Um, you know, the refs seem to be trying to make sure the Chiefs get back in that game, turning over some picks. That pick six by Herbert, where Gerald Everett kind of gave up on the play and gave up that interception, and that really changed the game. And that's a 14-point swing because the Chargers were about to score on that drive. 14-point swing goes to the Chiefs' way, and then Justin Herbert gets hurt and tries to grit out a comeback with broken ribs or whatever. I haven't looked to see what has actually happened, but obviously something in his abdomen was not going right. But credit to Justin Herbert. He got back in that game, gritted it out, and gave us the cover. So that one goes in the victory column. It didn't go as a win the way I kind of expected it to go, but what are you gonna do? We'll take any victory we can get. On to week 2. There's some interesting ones. I feel like a lot of reaction to week 1. Maybe some overreaction. I don't know. We'll see as we go here. This one, the first one I got, Patriots at Steelers. Now this one actually is the other way. I feel like people didn't watch week 1. You have the Patriots who played the Dolphins. They looked terrible. They only scored like 7 points maybe. Anyway, they got totally routed by the Miami defense, and they're about to go up against the Steelers in Pittsburgh. Yes, TJ Watt got hurt, but the Steelers defense has plenty of studs on it, even without TJ Watt. They're going to fill someone in. They're still going to be able to get, the Patriots offensive line didn't protect Mac Jones very well last week, and he got a back injury, was banged up. He's going to play, but I think the Steelers defense is going to be able to get after that offense. That offense is bad. They have no weapons. Meanwhile, the Steelers have, their quarterback isn't as good, but they have plenty of weapons. You have Chase Claypool. George Pickens really hasn't gotten a whole lot of play yet, but he's a good player. And then Deontay Johnson, obviously. Najee Harris is going to be back. He was limited with the foot, but he's expected to play as far as I have seen. So I think the Steelers are kind of have... And then the Patriots defense... any Belichick defense is probably pretty scary against the run and whatnot, but I think the Steelers are better on both sides of the ball. They have a better offense when you consider kind of the weapons that they have and ways they can try to score points, and I think they're better on defense. So I don't really understand a ton how the Patriots... I guess it's at Steelers, so that means if this was at a neutral site, the Patriots would be favored by a half. And if this was at Foxborough, the Patriots would be favored by 5.5. It doesn't make any sense. The Steelers, I think, are, they might not go this way, but I think you got to take the Steelers in the points. And I actually think the over-under's at 40 still. I'll take the under. This is classic, 16-8 or 16-7. If both these teams score over 20 points, I will be in shock. So I like the under 40 as well. Next game, Carolina at Giants. So right now the Giants are favored by 2 at home. I don't think the Giants should really be favored against, unless they're playing the Seahawks I don't think the Giants should be favored against very many teams in the NFL. The Panthers were competitive last week against a Browns team who, doesn't have a great quarterback, but they're really solid offensive line, really solid running attack, and they have a really, really good defense. And the Panthers were able to be competitive, and they were able to put up 24 points on that tough Browns defense. I think they had to try to gameplay around a few things. Like Christian McCaffrey didn't get a lot of work. He only got 14 touches all game, only 5 in the first half. So I really think offensively they kind of went away from that because of the tough matchup. And I think going into this one against the Giants, they're not going to have to do that. And I'm expecting Christian McCaffrey to have a kind of a big bounce back game against the Giants defense, which is, I'm not sure if they're really good or bad, but I don't think they're anything to be fearful of. And, Baker Mayfield, say what you want about him, but at this point in their careers, Baker Mayfield is a better quarterback than Daniel Jones. So they're going in with the better quarterback. They faced a much tougher challenge last week going up. They have better wide receivers on Carolina. Everyone in the offseason, because the New York team goes off about all these wide receivers New York has, and then in week one, where the heck were they? I think the Giants wide receivers are just always talked about, but never really do much. Meanwhile, you got Robbie Anderson might be back, as the kind of deep threat, pretty good wide receiver you have. He had a big play last week. That'll be big for his confidence and maybe getting a fire under him a little bit. And you still got DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey that I mentioned. Meanwhile, the Giants, what are you hoping happens? You're hoping Saquon Barkley takes over the game like he did kind of in week one. That might happen, but you got Christian McCaffrey on the other side. So this will be an interesting one. I like the Panthers and the points. I think the Panthers should probably be favored. So I'm going to take that 10 times out of 10. Seahawks at 49ers. So this was tough for me to do. So after that week one debacle in Chicago, it's hard to feel too good about the 49ers. Trey Lance didn't look great, but obviously there's the weather and stuff. Also, videos coming out, big distractions in 49ers land with Trey Lance, making it rain, with some girls partying it up over the week. I'm gonna grit my teeth and say the Seahawks are one of the worst teams in football, and the 49ers are they're the much superior team top to bottom, and they should be able to crush these Seahawks teams. So I'm going right back to it. Even though the Seahawks burned me, even though the 49ers burned me the other way, we're going right back to the well. 49ers -9. That's a lot of points, but I think Geno Smith is going to come crashing back down to earth. He's not a good player. Come on, guys. The 49ers defense they're beasts. They're gonna wreck the Seahawks team. It's gonna be really hard for them to do anything. In the 49ers, they got a strong running attack, so quietly, everyone, watched the Monday Night Football where the Seahawks were able to upset Russell Wilson, in Seattle. Here's the thing. They got out-produced on offense. Broncos were 433 yards. The Seahawks only put up 240 offensive yards, 250, right around there. So they got shellacked. The thing was, and on the ground, Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon were having no problems producing yards on the ground against the Seahawks. Here's what happened, is they fumbled on the goal line twice. That's 14 points, and turnovers going the other way. That's the only reason they were able to stay in this game with these huge mistakes, self-inflicted by the Broncos. You got 49ers are one of the best running team in football. So will they be there? And Elijah Mitchell's out, but you still got a stable of running backs headed by Jeff Wilson, and in Shanahan's scheme, it doesn't really matter. Everyone can run. Kittle's questionable with the groin, but you still got Deebo Samuel who's able to run it and catch. Brandon Ayuk can catch. And then Trey Lance himself. We haven't really seen what he can do, but we know he can run. We know he's pretty quick. So I think there's some trickeration in the running game. They're going to have no problems run against the Seattle team. Their defense is super solid, and Seattle's really got nothing except DK Metcalf, who's going to be, a wide receiver can't really put the game on his shoulders when the quarterback is questionable. So 49ers -9. Next one I got, Texans at Broncos. This is going back to the well again. Texans, I bet on them in the week one versus the Colts. They came back, were gritty, managed the tie. Broncos really disappointed in week one. I think this is at Mile High. They should be a bit better, but 10 is a lot of points. So I'm just going to go back to the well, put my trust in that the Texans are better than people are giving them credit for. I think they'll be able to be competitive enough, and it's the NFL, it's the National Football League. There's not as many blowouts as it may seem. I think there's been more in recent years, but I remember looking back a couple years ago, and it's like vast majority of games in the NFL are settled by one score, within 7 points. Tons of them, So when you're talking about a 10-point win, that is a blowout, and they don't happen as often as you might think that they do. So whenever they're predicting a blowout, fading the blowout is kind of a good idea, because all these teams are competitive. Even the worst team in football managed to get a couple wins. And the best team in football manages to get a couple losses every year. So, but yeah, 10 is a lot of points. Texans don't need to win this game. They just need to cover that 10. Davis Mills, he can do it. And I just think they're not all that bad. So, another one I'm going with is Cardinals. So these are afternoon games. Cardinals at Raiders. Raiders were -5.5. Now they moved to -5. So apparently money's coming in on the Cardinals. Don't totally understand that. The Cardinals got absolutely demolished by the Chiefs in Week 1. Patrick Mahomes threw like 5 touchdowns. Could not be stopped. That Cardinals defense isn't very good. Raiders, on the other hand, in Week 1, they played the Chargers, and Derek Carr threw 3 picks. That Chargers defense, we just saw it on Thursday night. That Chargers defense is scary. With Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. Yeah, Joey. That Chargers defense is scary. The Cardinals defense is not. So I think the Raiders offense was still showing some signs, especially with Devontae Adams producing a lot through the air. So I think the Raiders is going to be nuts this year. I still think that even after kind of a shaky Week 1, Derek Carr's not going to throw 3 picks this week. Take that prop bet if it's out there. They're playing a much inferior team, and I think the Raiders are going to get it going and really produce on offense. The Cardinals, on the other hand, are a bad team. There's all this offseason dysfunction. Kyler Murray's not a leader. And he doesn't have his key, he doesn't have DeAndre Hopkins. He does, Rondale Moore is out. So you got Marquise Brown and Zach Ertz and James Conner. That's their path there to win here. I'll take the Devontae Adams, Renfro, Waller, Carr side of the equation there. And the Raiders defense still has Chandler Jones and what's the other guy's name? Max something. I think the Raiders are going to really bounce back this week, and I think they're going to be able to knock up on this Cardinals team that has lost if you go back to last year, it's been a significant stretch of time since they've been anything worthwhile. Because they had the hot start to last season now, and then the back half they just fell apart. Well, that fall apart has continued into the second year here. Next game, Sunday Night Football, Bears at Packers. We're going Bears +10. +10 is a lot of points. So this one, I don't feel great about it, but because I do think there's a game script here where the Packers are able to just run the ball all over them and stifle the Bears offense and be able to score, or be able to win by over 10 points. But I don't think this is going to be a very high-scoring game, just because I think the Bears are bad, but their defense isn't that bad. They don't have an absolutely awful defense. And the Packers offense, I think, is still going to be a little dysfunctional. So I don't think they're going to run out and score 35 points. They're going to lean on the run game, short passes, be a little methodical and kind of grind it out. I think it's going to be kind of more that kind of game. There's a way where the Bears get shut out and the Packers just run and run up the score, but I think the Packers offense is going to struggle out of the gate. They still got these rookie wide receivers. Lazard's supposed to be back. I think he's questionable. And the right tackle and left tackle are both questionable. Bakhtiari, questionable. So he might be back, but they're not going to be at 100%. Bakhtiari has not played football in a long period of time. Because last year he was kind of in and out. I think there's going to be some rust there. So I think the Bears defense is going to be able to kind of hold their own against that Packers offense, frustrate them a little bit, prevent them from really walloping, on them. And then the Bears offense is still a question mark, but I think that Packers defense is getting way too much credit. There was a lot of offseason hype about how good this Packers defense is, and I don't think they're all that special. And the Bears just need to do. And Justin Fields, got that Week 1 victory. We'll see what he can do in Week 2. Going into Lambeau on a night game isn't the easiest thing, but he just needs to do enough. I think it's going to be relatively low scoring, so 10 points is quite a bit of a differential there, and I'll take the points. And I'm kind of a homer, picking against the Pack. Let's do it. Speaking of homer picks, going into Monday Night Football, Vikings at Eagles. I'm taking the Vikings +2.5 to the bank. The Vikings are a better team. They showed in Week 1, they kind of got a little quiet in the second half, but Week 1 they blew up. Justin Jefferson 150 yards in the first half. Kevin O'Connell, Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen was barely involved. Dalvin Cook didn't didn't have a spectacular game. I think they're going to be able to get it going against an Eagles team that allowed 35 points to the Lions last week. Justin Jefferson is better than Amon-Ra St. Brown. Kirk Cousins is better than Jared Goff. I'll take Dalvin Cook over DeAndre Swift. Fantasy people might be able to argue that one, but I'll take Cook healthy for sure. That Eagles defense, I still think maybe it was a fluke in week 1 and that Eagles defense figures it out and brings a tough game, but I still think, the Vikings, when they got those pass rushers healthy, their defense is okay. The Vikings offense is really good. The Eagles defense should be really good. Their offense should be good, but I just think the Vikings are a better team here. You're getting 2.5 points. Kirk has some... Has he gone into Eagles? So the Eagles game everyone remembers it was actually Case Keenum starting for the Vikings when they went in and got throttled on the Eagles' way to a Super Bowl. So, Vikings. I think the Vikings are they still got some demons to exercise there, but it's kind of an all new roster. I don't know. I think they're a better team than the Eagles. Is basically what it comes down to, and you get 2.5 points. So the Vikings are going to go in. They're going to play good. That's my thought. All right, so that's all I got for this week. Good luck.